Lady Colin Campbell has more exclusive reporting about Prince Harry's predicament in regards to Meghan's attendance at the Invictus Games. So, of course, Harry was in Canada this week.
Lady Colin Campbell, the sharp-tongued royal biographer, never shies away from controversy. Known for her no-holds-barred commentary, she has once again set tongues wagging with explosive claims about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. From their departure from royal duties to their ventures in the United States, Lady C has closely observed Harry and Meghan's every move. Now, she's accusing them of shocking behaviour, including alleged blackmail, exploiting their royal titles and even posing a threat to the very foundation of the monarchy.
According to Lady C, sources said Harry looked very nervous. My impression was that it was all forced enthusiasm, possibly because it has been made very clear to him that Meghan is not welcome, and her presence will be a blight on the games if she does attend with him. Let's see what happens. Lady C then went on to report via her X account, which, by the way, you must follow because she provides a lot of royal juice there, and her opinions on the rest of the news. But Lady C says, yes, let's see, especially as how the rumours that they're on the verge of parting are louder than ever. So will she attend, if only to defeat the rumours, while also availing herself of the irresistible lure of the spotlight? I, for one, don't believe a word that emanates from anyone associated with them, especially the two of them. And Lady Colin Campbell, this is fascinating, isn't it? Because there seems to be a reinvention of the Invictus Games for Harry to try and make this his vehicle now about mental health, rather than focusing specifically on wounded servicemen. But it's very difficult for him to ban Meghan from this event, which clearly is what the organisers want. How terrible for her that she's not even welcome in Canada, which she used to describe as her home because she spent so much time filming Suits there. I mean, things have really changed.
Lady C, a familiar face on British television and a published author on all things royal, boasts a treasure trove of insider knowledge. Her colourful past and her aristocratic connections have cemented her position as a trusted source for royal gossip and intrigue. When Lady C speaks, people listen, and this time her allegations are more explosive than ever. Buckingham Palace is bracing itself. The Sussexes, meanwhile, remain tight-lipped, leaving the public to grapple with Lady C's shocking accusations. At the heart of Lady C's accusations lies the issue of security. Harry and Meghan, since their dramatic exit from royal life, have repeatedly voiced concerns for their safety.
Yes, things have changed. But, you know, Dan, my children have a friend who's a Canadian who actually is from Toronto and mixed in those circles, and says that Meghan was always extremely unpopular and nobody liked her because she was so pretentious and pushy. So Meghan going on and on about how much she loved Canada, it's not very convincing because, you know, they were going to move to Canada, which of course she never intended to. Remember, Megxit, well, you should know, you're the one who broke the story of Megxit. But
Yes.
Megxit was going to take place and they were going to move to Canada. Canada was only ever
It was a smokescreen. It was a smokescreen. She had her plan to get to Los Angeles. I think it happened probably quicker than intended, though, because remember, the borders were closing because of COVID. And she got on that private jet out of Canada as quickly as she possibly could. It was a ruse to try and trick the late Queen that she actually cared about the Commonwealth, but Queen Elizabeth II saw right through it.
Well, Queen Elizabeth II knew what she was dealing with. Let's remember that the British Secret Services always investigate anybody who's very close to the royal family. So the public may not know everything, but ultimately the Queen knew everything. You only need to look at her expression during that wedding. She had a face like thunder, and so did
Yes.
Prince Philip. And Prince Philip tried to talk Harry out of, with the knowledge of what they were dealing with, where Meghan was concerned, to basically tell Harry, we're not trying to break up your relationship, continue bonking the cow, but, uh, after you've bonked her, then dump her, because that's really all she's good for. I mean, Prince Philip put it slightly more decorously than that, but really not that much more decorously. And Harry responded very furiously. And when the Queen tried to intervene, I was told that Harry told the Queen that if they didn't agree, that they would be accused of racism. So they've always known what they were dealing with Meghan. But the Queen hoped, and I think Prince Philip also hoped, that the lure of royalty and the tremendous opportunity she was being given, that if she even meant 1/50th of all this rubbish that she was spewing forth, that she would understand what a wonderful opportunity it was, and how she should actually appreciate the platform she had been given, and that she would become a team player. They all expected her to become a team player. Nobody could imagine that she was so egotistical and delusional and dumb that she actually would think that, oh, well, I'm bigger than all of them, and I'm just going to become the reigning empress of the universe. But also, remember, Meghan and Harry expected to be half in, half out. Their plan, which they had set up very carefully before they left this country,
particularly in the United Kingdom. They claim their security detail was unfairly revoked, leaving them vulnerable to threats. Yet Lady C sees a different narrative unfolding. She alleges that the couple is using security as a bargaining chip, a way to blackmail the royal family into submission. Lady C points to the Sussexes' willingness to travel to countries rife with danger. Their tours of Colombia, Nigeria, and Jamaica, nations grappling with internal conflicts, contradict their professed fear for their safety, according to Lady C. If they are truly concerned about security, she argues, why venture into the heart of such volatile regions? Lady C's accusations paint a picture of a calculated strategy, a power play disguised as concern. It's a claim that has ignited fierce debate, with some questioning the Sussexes' true motivations.
With Sussex Royal, where they'd trademarked everything down to the Tampax that 22-year-old girls use. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Everything, and I'm sure even French letters had the ducal coronet on them. But the Queen said no, and that's when their whole plan went awry. Because once the Queen said, well, she didn't actually say it, it was the Lord Lion, King of Arms, who said it on her behalf. No half in, half out, but it was definitely said for the Queen. No half in, half out. And then they had to come up with an alternative plan. But their plan, because Meghan is a hustler, Meghan is an operator, Meghan is basically a vulgar opportunist who is sufficiently egotistical as to think that her way will be the way and she will prevail no matter what. And she has a very high opinion of her intelligence and thinks that she's cleverer than everybody else, that she can outmaneuver everybody else. But she hasn't been able to outmaneuver everybody else. And so they had to come up with another game plan. And instead of exercising patience and doing it nicely, and if they had done it nicely, they would have succeeded, but they did it nastily. They turned on the very institution that has given them their raison d'etre and their platform. And instead of being glamorous and attractive and desirable, they became whining, whinging, sympathy-seeking jerks. And ultimately, people, because you see, I think people had a big warning when the way she treated her father and her brother and her
Yes.
sister
Yeah.
and her mother's family of color. Let's not forget, because neither the Johnsons nor the Raglands were regarded as good enough to attend anything.
From a conservative standpoint, this is a reminder of the importance of humility. True leaders know when to step back and let the mission take center stage. Meghan's absence, whether voluntary or not, might be a step in the right direction. Lady Cullen reveals that Meghan wasn't exactly beloved in her Toronto social circles, with some describing her as pretentious and pushy. If true, this paints a stark contrast to the public persona Meghan has tried to cultivate. This is where perception meets reality. In the age of social media, it's easy to craft a narrative that suits your goals. But as we've seen time and again, the truth has a way of surfacing. From a Republican perspective, this speaks to the value of authenticity. People respect leaders and public figures who are genuine, not those who play to the cameras while acting differently behind the scenes.
So
Certainly not the wedding.
It was only Doria who has a steel trap that, she has a steel trap mouth that it's very like a mausoleum, or somebody who's been in certain circumstances which require that you keep stum and your head down so that you don't get put into solitary and all the rest of it, or Coventry. And the whole thing has been a total disaster, but they have played it wrong. And Meghan is the one who has orchestrated the whole thing. Harry doesn't have the intelligence to do it.
But it's been a disaster, as you say. It has been an epic disaster. And now he's faced with this difficulty. I mean, look, let's be honest, we've both reported it for longer than anyone. The mainstream media still don't have the balls to even touch it, Lady C. But there are serious strains in the marriage. But he now has to deal with this predicament of, does he have to tell his very difficult wife, his bullying wife, that she's uninvited from the Invictus Games? I mean, this is difficult for him. This is a conundrum.
I wouldn't be surprised if she shows up. I would, even if they are discussing parting, and I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying if they were discussing parting, until they agree that the terms, because this is what happens in most relationships that have any public profile, when they're breaking down, people try to extricate themselves with a modicum of awareness of how it's going to look to the public. I would be very surprised that she doesn't come, but he has certainly been told that she is not welcome, that I wish I could find, but I can't find the notes I made, Dan. I'm sorry. I was looking for them just before this began to read out exactly what I was told. But she's definitely not welcome, and she's regarded, a blight. She's a blight. She will be a blight on the games, and she's an embarrassment. Nobody wants her. The veterans don't want her. The veterans' families don't want her. They have to pay for their transport, their accommodation, everything, and they don't see why and they should be the focus of the games, and they don't see why the focus should be deflected away from them after they have paid to go to this hustler who dresses wildly inappropriately and makes it into a fashion show for herself.
The name Sussex carries weight, a legacy intertwined with centuries of British history. Lady C alleges that Harry and Meghan are exploiting this legacy for personal gain, turning their royal titles into a lucrative brand. Their website, sussex.com, has become a particular point of contention. Lady C argues that this digital venture directly violates an agreement with the late Queen Elizabeth II, who stipulated that the couple refrain from using their HRH titles for commercial purposes after stepping down from royal duties. Adding fuel to the fire, Lady C, who owns domain names like Duke and Duchess of Sussex.co.uk,
Oh, indeed. It's still a predicament for Harry, though. But I wanted to move on to another subject, which you've had very forthright opinions on this week. So Peter Tickton, who is actually one of Donald Trump's closest friends from his school days, actually, is now representing Samantha Markle in her legal case versus Meghan Markle. And finally, Lady C, one part of the mainstream media has picked up on Peter Tickton's very strong argument about what Meghan and Harry are trying to do in terms of free speech and how they are using the revolting Sussex Squad, which we have been calling out for years now, to do so. So I just want to share exactly what Peter Tickton told Newsweek. This is really interesting, by the way, because Newsweek used to be one of those publications completely in the pocket of Harry and Meghan, but finally they're doing some proper journalism. So this is what Peter Tickton told Newsweek. To most of us Americans, we couldn't give a tinker's damn as to whether the prince is the Duke of Wales, the Duke of Sussex, or the Duke of Earl. Now, this is about the fact that Harry and Meghan's lawyers actually erroneously called him the Prince of Wales rather than the Duke of Sussex. Peter Tickton goes on, in fact, I wish I could say it was simply a spelling mistake when he should have been the Duke of Wales, spelt W-A-I-L-S. In all seriousness, we have a guy here who in the United States believes our First Amendment is bonkers, meaning crazy, while he is one of 16 governors of a group called the Aspen Institute, the Ministry of Truth, who decide which statements on our internet should be deleted as disinformation. So this foreigner, if we ever gave out titles in America, should be known as the Minister of Fiction. This Duke is here as our guest, and his goal seems to be to control our speech. The Sussex Squad smear, threaten, and set out to destroy anyone who criticises Meghan or Harry. They are the evil which Harry prepares to be against. Now, finally, Lady C, some parts of the American media via Peter Tickton are looking into the very, very sinister goal that Prince Harry actually has
publicly offered to relinquish them to Harry and Meghan. Her only stipulation: they must cease using sussex.com, a domain she believes rightfully belongs to the Crown. This battle over the Sussex brand, according to Lady C, is a blatant disregard for royal protocol and a crass commodification of their titles. It's a clash that transcends digital domains, striking at the heart of what it means to be a member of the British monarchy. Perhaps the most damning of Lady C's accusations is the perceived threat that Meghan, in particular, poses to the monarchy. While not tied to a specific event, this sentiment permeates Lady C's commentary and her published works, including her book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story. Lady C's analysis paints a picture of a monarchy grappling with modernity, struggling to adapt to the winds of change that Meghan, consciously or not, embodies. Her arrival, according to Lady C, has upset the delicate balance of tradition and evolution that has sustained the British monarchy for centuries. Whether Meghan's influence will ultimately strengthen or weaken the monarchy remains a subject of intense speculation. One thing is certain: Lady C believes that the Crown is facing a defining moment, a crossroads in its long and storied history.